Hello, I'm Blake Scarlevi, and in this video I'm going to show off the new Copilot Studio experience. So if you're not aware, there's a brand new experience in Copilot Studio that's in preview. It's both a brand new UI from the ground up, as well as a new agent orchestration as well. So if you go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com, you might have to go to copilotstudio.preview.microsoft.com in order to see this new experience. There should be a toggle at the top right. I believe it defaults to having it on right now. So you can toggle it off if you want to go to the classic experience. But some changes right off the bat is the environment selector is at the bottom left now, so make note of that. When you go here, you will definitely want to make sure you're in the right environment before you're creating the agent. So look for that down here at the bottom left. And then when we go to make a new agent, so we can come here, click new agent. So it looks like this now. It's kind of more, it's definitely a cleaner approach. Instead of having various tabs for the different tools and knowledge and whatnot, it has this like nice little modal dialog that's popped up here. So some things that have changed. So we can do Microsoft IQ here. There's an option for that. And skills. So skills are new. They're essentially taking over topics. So instead of topics, there's now skills, which I believe are kind of similar, but just a bit different. So with a topic, you kind of describe what your trigger is going to be, and the orchestrator figures out, should I call this topic? And then it walks through based on the actions that you have defined in the topic. So now instead, you define a markdown file for your skill, and you define like when the agent should trigger that specific skill, and then you define like the actions that should be taken within that skill. So instead of a topic where you're kind of picking the actions that should happen, like call this flow, call this connector, return this message, you kind of just define that in using words and markdown within the skill itself. So quite a bit different. We'll take a look at what that looks like. Tools are the same, just adding flows. They're now called workflows. So adding workflows that you want to use, adding connectors that you want to use, etc. Knowledge is the same as well, adding like if there's specific files you want the agent to leverage, if there's a SharePoint site or document library or wherever to point to, so the agent gets its knowledge from, that's still there. And then as well as connecting to other agents. And then also brand new is memory, so being able to remember interactions. So if someone used the agent yesterday and asked it to do some stuff, and then they're using it today, it should remember those interactions with the user, and therefore ideally provide improved results because the agent is remembering certain things. And if you tell it, no, I wanted you to do this instead, like it should remember that. So in the future, if you ask it to do the same thing, it should, remember like, oh, you wanted me to do this. So still haven't played around with that yet. So there'll probably be a separate video once we get into that. But for now, I just kind of show leveraging the new skill. So I'm just going to do like a quick self-service agent. I already have the skill markdown defined, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come here to the skill, click this plus. So you can either have a markdown file that you have already and just upload it, or you can come here, create from blank. It gives you an example. I'm so far zoomed in that it's hard to tell, but it gives you some examples of what the markdown should look like. I'm going to paste in here markdown that I had AI write for me. And so here you also want to give it a name. So I'm going to call this HR self-service. We have a description here. Put that in the description, and then I can just delete it from here. So the skill is just telling, the steps it should take, like when it should trigger this skill based on, how the user is prompting the agent and so on. And then you can view the preview version of it as well. So it, is formatting the markdown into like bullet points and headers and bolded text and whatnot. So from there, we can click create. So now we have our skill here. If you hover over it, it shows the description that you put in. And then in our skill, it talks about one of these in here somewhere. It talks about like submitting or requesting PTO, for example, because this is a self-service agent. So I can ask, submit time for me essentially. And so it's references a tool that we're going to use. And so here, this is the new, they renamed it from agent flows to workflows. So you see this new tab here, shows all your existing agent flows or workflows now. I had one built already, so I'm just going to add that. And then essentially how you do the skill, if you want the skill to use knowledge, like you can point it to the knowledge that you have uploaded in the knowledge section. You could say like, hey, if the user asks questions about the employee handbook, point to the knowledge that you've uploaded the employee handbook, for example, or it's in some OneDrive or SharePoint folder. Like you have the skill, like, point to this file. That's where you get the knowledge from. Similar with like calling a workflow. I believe I don't have it named here correctly, so let me go find it. So submitting the request, calling actions. So it should be in here somewhere. Call the submit time off action. So just say call the submit PTO workflow, and then make this easier. I'm just going to have like the employee name and start date. So we'll give that a try. Click save. And then I'll bounce to the workflow because this has a new name, but also new experience as well. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is what it looks like. Again, a bit cleaner. It defaults to a horizontal approach, which is different from what we're used to with Power Automate and agent flows. But you can click this button down here to switch back to a vertical layout that we're used to. But here you kind of have all your actions that you can do, and they're kind of grouped. Some of these are grouped, like function, for example. It's going to show me only the functions that are available. Connectors, it's only going to show me the connectors. So a little bit nicer, cleaner, whereas before you just click add an action and it shows you everything. So this a little bit cleaner. Variables, we can now initialize multiple variables in a single node, which is very handy. So that should get rid of the old days of initializing 5 variables in the beginning, taking up a full page of the screen essentially. So that comes in handy. And then we can also do notes now. So it's kind of like the whiteboard, where I can, add a comment essentially of why I'm doing it this way or whatnot. And so for this, we're not going to actually do anything. We're just going to hope the agent can trigger it based on the new skill. So I believe one of it was the employee name and then the start date of the PTO. So we should see that get passed in, and then we're just going to respond to the agent. Maybe to make things easier, we'll do a compose up here. And we're going to, oh, interesting. So we have to, I'm still getting used to this myself. So I don't know, we gotta like redraw the, oops. Yeah, I'm not sure how exactly to get the order correct here, because it's already, I guess that's one way, is just to delete it, but I gotta figure that out. Not sure how to reorder the actions. Let's see, so we need to respond to an agent. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, respond to the agent. Okay, so then in the compose, I was just going to put the name and start date just to make it easier to see what values are being sent into this workflow. So we save it. Now let's publish it. All right, so now one thing I don't like is I don't know, I could be missing it, but there doesn't seem to be a great way to go from the workflow back to the agent. I always end up clicking this agents, and then I got to click the right agent, and so on. Let's see, do I have a description written for this? All right, here we go. So just going to put some instructions in for the agent as well, and then save it. And then instead of having like the test pane on the right, we now just have this preview tab up here. You can toggle between the end user, which essentially will hide any dev only details. So you can see exactly what the end user would see. So here, how can I help you? So would like to submit PTO for 6/18. So we should see it triggering our skill. So here we go. It loaded the skill HR self-service that we added. Got it. You'd like to take PTO. Let me know, is it vacation, sick, or personal? So vacation, full day. So those are just, I think, the details in the skill that we said, like, hey, you should have all these details when you're submitting. So now it's confirming. Here's the details. Would you like to submit? Yes. So then here we can see it's calling the tool, which is perfect. So we had the workflow as a tool called submit to PTO. So it says it's submitted pending approval. So now if we flip back to the tool, we should see it was ran just now. So we can see the activity, come to our compose, so we can see it correctly passed in my name. It got from, my Microsoft identity, and then the date that I asked it to submit the time to. So all I would need to do to finish this, to make it fully working, is inside this workflow, I would then connect to the system that, my company uses internally to submit PTO. Obviously, for us, we use Dynamics, so I would just hook into the Dynamics connector and submit it. Obviously, for other people, it could be Salesforce, it could be ServiceNow, whatever. Those connectors are most likely available. You just leverage those, and you probably don't even need a workflow for this. You could just pull in the connector itself as a tool. Like for me, I would use Dataverse to submit my PTO, so I could pull in the Dataverse tool and, have it create a time entry record and tell the skill, like, this is how you create that record. So pretty cool, fairly easy, definitely getting easier with these new updates. It is in preview still, so make note of that. But hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.